Hey guys, UFC 290 takes place this Saturday. The main event is going to be Volk versus Yair Rodriguez. We got some awesome matchups, great co-main event. We got a lot of up and coming prospects. We got a lot of Australians fighting on this card. But we're just gonna talk about what we think are, I guess, the main fights, the most important fights. We're not gonna go over every single card or every single fight, but just what we think are the main ones.
Yeah, indeed, a fantastic event. You got two title events. Got a possible contender elimination, right? With Whittaker and Du Plessis. Still possible, even if Whittaker wins, they might not give him the shot.
Right.
Sean might be able to get it ahead of him, but you have also. Yeah, you pretty much, in my view, have make it or break it for Hooker. You and Lola's farewell fight. So yeah, it's pretty cross saturated. Even with the fight, the opponents for Jack falling through and opponents. It's still a great card.
Yeah, and going off of Lawler's farewell fight, we can actually just start off with him. He's fighting Nico Price in what seems to be his retirement fight. He's been saying that for a while, that this is going to be his last fight. He's been talking about it in the media that, yeah, this is his last fight, and he just kind of he's not recovering as well, and he thinks he's just, it's his time. He's fighting a Nico Price where hasn't been looking that great, but I guess he's a little younger, a little longer, a little taller. Definitely not as accomplished as Robbie Lawler for sure. Doesn't have the same names as the resume on the resume. But what are we thinking about this matchup?
Yeah, both like to slug it out. The hybrid does have like weird striking.
Yeah.
I want to say he's had some. I can't just find another word for it. He has weird wins he finds sometimes, like he has this up kick win, right? He has the hammer fist from the bottom. That's
Yeah,
another
yeah.
one of his in his. But Lawler is just Lawler is Lawler. I mean, I can't. He's unique. There's nobody like him. Some say he was the man who broke Rory McDonald. He's the man who broke Condit. Possibly. I personally think this one is going to be hard to predict, given Lawler's durability, given it's just a 3-round fight. I personally don't get the odds. I'm not sure why the odds are so much skewed on Nikos to Nikos. I'm not sure I understand. Is that because the Lawler is 41 years old
I
and
think it's a
it's retirement
combination.
and it's a retirement fight? It's like, okay, he just wanted to get it over with. I get it.
I think it's also a combination of the fact that Brian Barberina maybe put him away his last fight. When we're not
Yeah.
really used to seeing Robbie Lawler put away like that.
Yeah, true. Yeah, his chin might be he might be losing his chin, but is Nico Price going to be the one to expose it? I think I'm going to go with Laura on this one. I know I'm not probably in the minority on this, but I'm going to go with Laura on this.
Yeah, I was actually thinking Lawler as well, just because I don't think Nico. I think it's going to be a stand-up, probably a slugfest. I don't think Nico has. While he does have power, I don't think he has the same power as, let's say, like a Brian Barberina who put him away last, or a Tyron Woodley. I think Nico Price maybe a little more messier. We actually have seen Nico Price put away. I don't think Robbie Lawler could put him away at the stage of, with the stage of his career. With being as old as he is, I don't know if he still has it in him to put away a Nico Price, but I could see him kind of just pressuring Nico Price like he always does. A lot of volume, maybe landing a big shot, stunning Nico Price, because we've seen him stun before, right? I think we've seen him stun against his last fight. Was he put away by the guy who just fought Neil Magny, right? Like Philip Rowe.
Yeah.
Then that was the other fight. I forgot what it was, who it was against, where he should have oh, Vicente Luque, right? Vicente Luque, I think, put him away, but that was a while ago. But I think Robbie does have it in him to put him away. But I think this could
The
be,
fight with Cowboy, I think the fight with Cowboy kind of like, yeah, you know.
yeah. I think it should be a 29-28 for Lawler. I think maybe Nico Price could steal around, but I see going 29-28 for Robbie Lawler.
Yeah, I'm picking Lola this one as
Yeah.
well.
All right. Next up, we have in my opinion, a guy I've been really high on. We've both been high on, I think, for a while. Is Jalin Turner versus Dan Hooker. This is, in my opinion, a very important matchup in the lightweight division. First of all, for Dan Hooker, he's got to win this one. I think if he loses this one, I think he's going to be. I mean, he's already kind of out of a lot of top 10 conversation, but I think after this, he's definitely going to be out of the top 10 conversation. Um, Jalin Turner, I think, has got to win this one. I don't think he's like on a, he's not on a losing streak or anything, but with his last loss to Gamrot, and if he loses this one, I think they're going to kind of use him to feed other up and coming guys. And I don't think Jalin Turner. I think he has the potential to definitely make a top five. He could have some awesome matchups with like Gagey and Poirier. So I think this is a must win for both. But I have it going for Jalin Turner. I have it going to Jalin Turner just because of many things. For example, I think he has the speed. I think he should have the power. Jalin Turner, he has good kicks. I think they have the same reach, if I'm not mistaken, but it just feels like Jalin Turner's longer.
Oh,
Um,
Jalin Turner is huge. I mean, I don't know if you saw this picture with him and Hamzat, where he is just as big as
I did see
Hamzat.
that.
And yeah, both are long and tall and lanky. Jalin is taller, obviously, and stronger.
Yeah,
The fight with Gamrot, I think this is the second time actually Gamrot has got a fight gifted to him. One with Sarukan, one with Jalin Turner, and both were gifted by the same judge, Ron
yeah,
McCarthy. If you catch my drift, so I did mention in the last podcast that he's Ron McCarthy joining the list of the worst judges in the game, and that's just to illustrate my point. So you could also argue that to me Hooker, to me it sounds like it might be make or break for him. Do some argue that yeah, his losses came from top of the division, top fighters.
yeah,
You have Makachev, you have Chandler, right? Poirier, and
right.
but to me, it doesn't look like a washed up fighter by no means. But I think definitely he's going to be too
Yeah,
Jalen too much for him, in my
he's,
opinion.
he's definitely
He
not
is a
washed.
hard.
He's definitely not
He,
washed. He's got miles on him for sure. I mean, he's been put away by Chandler. He got that war with Poirier, which is my like top five fights of all time. He recently broke his hand, which is why he had to pull out of his last fight. And he's going on and about how he was training without that hand for this camp. So I think Jalin Turner is I predict him to beat Dan Hooker. I don't know if he knocks him out just because again we know Dan Hooker has a great chin and we did see Arnold Allen put him away, but there was I guess circumstances he cut a lot of weight and we know we've seen from many fights before how that affects fighters and their ability to take a punch. But Jalin Turner could definitely put away Dan Hooker. I mean, he's dropped Gamrot badly. He's dropped a lot of. He dropped. I think he knocked out Brad Riddell and then quickly submitted him. So the guy's dangerous. The guy has knockout power. He's long, good kicks. It should
yeah,
go. It should go his way.
and Hooker doesn't have Gamrot's wrestling to neutralize, right? To
Exactly.
neutralize the Jalen's power, speed, and precision.
Yeah.
So yeah, I
And
think
if Dan
it's
Hooker does decide to, yeah, if Dan Hooker does decide to go for a takedown for whatever reason, I mean, we know Jalin Turner has awesome takedown defense. He's defended, very well against Gamrot, and I don't think this is going to hit the mat at all,
yeah.
unless if Dan Hooker gets dropped and Jalin Turner like hops on his back or hops on a mount for some ground and pound or submission attempt. It's not going to go to the mat by way of takedown.
Yep, agree.
Yeah, so we got Jalin Turner in this one. For this next one, Robert Whittaker versus Dricus Du Plessis, which is kind of sounds like it's for the #1 contendership. Especially with the fact that Robert Whittaker's put away everyone except for Adesanya, and Dricus kind of has that beef with Adesanya going on. Now Whittaker is a big favorite in this fight. I believe he was like a -400 last time I checked. He's a big favorite against this fight with Dricus.
He's he's a huge favorite. Yeah. It's hard to imagine how the avenues for Du Plessis to win this fight. If there is anything positive about him, is that somehow he finds a way to win his fights. He's on a 5-win streak. I think it's or maybe more even, right? Which is the longest in middleweight now. Somehow, like, he finds the way to win. Like he gets second win. Remember that fight with Darren Till where he was dominating in the second round, and then all of a sudden he's like resurrection, right? He comes back and wins the fight. Similar situation with Brunson, right? He all of a sudden he looked tired, he looked exhausted, and all of a sudden he just reappears. But but he's got like something weird about his footwork, right? His movement, and just kind of looks awkward to me.
Yeah.
I do see Whittaker exploiting the awkward footwork of Du Plessis, and I don't see in a single discipline where he can out grapple, he can outstrike Whittaker, and so I think the odds are correct, and I agree with the odds here.
I see it the same. I don't think there's any like martial art that Dricus can pose, let's say, problems for Whittaker. Not in the boxing, kickboxing, not in the grappling. I mean, we've seen Whittaker defend against takedown attempts from Yoel Romero. Many other guys we've seen him. We've seen him comfortable. He's winning now. I think jiu-jitsu tournaments. Robert Whittaker he's going to a lot of jiu-jitsu tournaments. He's got a black belt. Dricus, yes,
high level black belt. Yeah,
he does have this weird ability to, he does absorb punishment well. Darren Till hit him with like a lot of good left hands and left elbows. But I mean, Whittaker is not Darren Till with the way he moves, the way he mixes up the strikes. That patented 1-2 right high kick is a problem for everyone that faced Whittaker. Dricus, I think, I don't know, even the only way I think he could beat Whittaker is if he just somehow managed to make it like a dog fight and just go all out in the first 5 minutes and just clip him with something. But again, we know Whittaker's chin is not bad. I mean, he's taking punches from a lot of heavy hitters. But I don't see Dricus winning this technically. The only way I see him winning is if he just catches him with a lucky punch to be candid. Whittaker should just piece him up everywhere. Anywhere the fight goes, he should be winning.
Yeah. Well, supposedly Du Plessis now after the surgery is breathing better and his cardio is better.
Surgery's
I mean, it's to be seen, but based on the historical data we have today, it should be a quick. I shouldn't say quick. It should be a win for.
Yeah, cardio might be better, but that doesn't improve, let's say, the boxing skills or kickboxing skills. His takedown attempts are not bad. We've seen him get really low. For example, when he fought Darren Till, But going back and watching that fight, Darren Till didn't even attempt a sprawl. He didn't even attempt to get any underhooks, to put a leg back, to push the head down. There was no takedown defense from Darren Till, and I definitely think if Dricus attempts any kind of takedown against Whittaker, he's gonna sprawl on him. He's gonna be heavy with the hips, and Dricus is not gonna get anywhere with the takedowns. And I think it's just gonna be a masterclass from Whittaker, a 3-round masterclass from Robert Whittaker.
I guess the fact that it's a 3-round fight is somewhat of a plus for Dricus, right?
Yeah.
Now that you
He
have
can go more all out or
four,
something.
right? But still, yeah.
Yeah. But anyways, still interesting matchup, I think, for sure. Definitely excited for that one. But next up, we got the flyweight title bout between champion Brandon Moreno and Alexander Pantoja, who's ranked number 2. Now, this is actually a very interesting one because Alexander Pantoja actually beat Brandon Moreno twice. He beat him on the Ultimate Fighter, I think, in 2016. They count that as an exhibition match, so I don't think that goes on their record. But then they fought again in 2018, where Alexander just kind of dominated him. I mean, he kind of had his way with him, if I remember correctly. He was
the
picking him up
first
more
2
from a
rounds for
distance.
sure.
Yeah, for the first 2 rounds for sure. He hurt Brandon Moreno on many occasions. He was winning the scrambles. There were a couple of times where Brandon Moreno kind of goaded him into like this kind of, where they kind of slugged it out. But otherwise Pantoja was pretty composed and doing his thing from the outside. And now they're having another rematch. This is, I guess, their trilogy 5 years later. So how do you think this one goes?
Well, the last I've seen is the Moreno, I believe, is the favorite, right?
Yeah, he's a minus 200 favorite, I think.
Yeah,
Minus
which
210.
is surprising. You could, yes, he does look like he might have made progress since the last time they fought, and the progress he made specifically. What I mean is like visually, he's a lot bigger. I don't know if you compare 2 Morenos, right?
Right.
One from 2018 to the one now. He does look bigger. Actually,
Mhm.
he's bigger. Actually stronger. He is a lot greedier. I remember the first fight, well, which is the second fight,
Hmm.
where he was clearly losing 2 rounds, but he wasn't really pressing I don't recall him trying to press Pantoja to win the fight. He wasn't. It did seem like he was content. So he did make some progress there. But where I think he might have regressed is the fact that he fought Figueiredo 4 times. So imagine fighting 4 times the same guy. I mean, how you're just preparing for the same guy. He did have a win in between, right? He fought
Yeah, he fought against Kai France.
yeah, Kevin France. So he beat he did have more fights overall than Pantoja. I believe he had 9 fights, something like that, and Pantoja, I think, had 7 fights. So he does fight more often. But again, just the fact that he fought the same guy 4 times might have not might have played a role in regressing him a little bit in that sense.
Yeah.
How motivated is he going to be? Probably well motivated. We've seen him very motivated, but I just have a feeling that Pantoja is the type of guy who kind of has his number, and I think it's different from Pereira and Adesanya, because you see like Adesanya was kind of winning the fights. He was winning, and he just gets caught with a left hook. Here was a different story. Moreno was being dominated throughout the fight, so it's a little different. Plus, I think Pantoja, made a lot of progress since the last fight they
For
fought
sure.
as well. I mean, he was number 2, 12 ranked, pretty much beat everybody. I think he drew. Oh no, he lost to Figueiredo, right?
I don't
Trying to
think
recall that.
I don't remember if Pantoja fought Figueroa, but I definitely know he lost to Askar Askarov, right?
Yes, he lost to Askarov,
Hmm.
but he beat Perez. He beat Kai Kara France too, I believe.
I think
Uh,
he finished
he
Perez,
finished
right?
the first round.
Yeah, finished with
Yes.
rear naked choke. Kekar France, he finished, or I'm not sure if he finished him, but he beat him. Finished Mental Cop, finished Matt Schnell, which was very good. Um, that was a very good performance by him, and I think that was his last fight. Um, that performance to
Manel
me
might
kind
have
of,
been a decision, though.
sorry,
Manel might have been a decision. Manel might have been a decision. I don't think he finished him. I could be wrong.
might have been,
Um,
but to me, his last fight with Matt Schnell was most impressive because Matt Schnell is the kind of guy, kind of like Brandon Moreno, who likes to be in your face, likes to throw big shots, likes to make it messy. But Pantoja kind of shut him down in every single, he just didn't let him have his way. Pantoja dictated the pace, he dictated the distance, he dictated everything. So
yeah.
I think that kind of showed me that he should win against Brandon Moreno. Just the way that he's able to, he's evolved because people keep saying, "Oh, Brandon Moreno's evolved," but so has Pantoja. He's not going to get into that, those slugfests that he did with him before. I think he's just going to keep the distance. He has a awesome jab. He hurt Matt Snell with that jab. He hurt Brandon Rival with the jabs. I think he's just going to keep distance against Brandon Moreno. And I think this could be just a simple decision win for Pantoja. And I don't want to say simple, but I think it's going to be a decision win for Pantoja.
Yeah, both have what it takes to go the distance.
Sure.
If need be, yeah, I would go with Pantoja on this one as well.
Yeah, which is a little strange, I think, because we're kind of going against, I think, the general consensus, right? Where where Brandon Moreno is the favorite, but I think he's the favorite maybe just based off the fact that kind of they're thinking that, oh, he had these fights with Figueiredo, and then also another fact is that there's like this, they keep talking about this rise in Mexican fighters, and I think everyone's just kind of on that bandwagon. But I think Pantoja is a dark horse. Again, no one's talking about what he's done these last 5, 6, 7, 8 years. I mean, the guy's not very vocal. He's not very active, let's say, on the Twitter or Instagram, but he's there. He's putting in the work, and I think he actually was supposed to fight Brandon Moreno, right? Or was it Figueiredo? But then he got injured. So he's a guy that this is a long time coming for Pantoja in terms of the title shot. I believe he's earned this.
Yeah, and I think we made some money on the last event, and kind of affords me to go with some of the underdogs on this card.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think Pantoja is. I think the odds should be a lot closer than what they are for sure. Should not be minus 210, especially with the fact that Pantoja beat him twice and pretty, you know, with not a lot of problems, I believe. And again, I know it's a very different, being as that fight was 5 years ago, but still happened.
As
uh,
big as this difference is, it's actually the smallest in terms of the difference in odds for the rest of the card. You look at the Volkan Rodriguez, you look at everything else, that the odds are
yeah,
insanely. There's a big difference.
that's true. True for sure. Yeah, and yeah, speaking of Volk and big favorites, I mean Volk is a he's like a minus 400 favorite against Yair Rodriguez, who's the interim champion. This is the main event. This is the UFC for the undisputed UFC featherweight championship. What do you think of Yair being such a big underdog?
Yeah, I don't know. I doesn't make sense to me because he is the same kind of underdog as the Du Plessis, and it does sound like, to me, it looks like he has bigger chances against Volk than
For
Du
sure.
Plessis
Yeah.
against right Whittaker. So I'm not sure if I agree with the odds, but again, odds don't win fights, fighters win fights. But again, for this, it's really hard to go with Yair for me personally. I know I know a lot. Well, I love his flashiness, but Rodriguez has holes in wrestling, and we know he's been exposed many times. despite being dangerous with these kicks and triangle chokes and everything else that he has in his arsenal, he does get taken down. Like we even saw this with Max Holloway. Max Holloway was able to take him down. Max Holloway doesn't take anybody down.
Yeah.
Um, to me, the bigger question is how motivated is Walt going to be for this fight? I know. He keeps talking about even I saw some about him, having his eyes on Makhachev fight again. So he has his sights, eyes set on Makhachev fight, and is he overlooking Yair Rodriguez? So to me, that's the intangible here. Assuming he does not overlook him, I think he wins this fight.
Yeah.
Even if it goes to, if it's 100% stand up, then it's probably a 50-50, and Yair chances increasing. But if Volk incorporates wrestling into this game, and that should be, I mean, it's hard to pick against him here. So I'm going with Volk on this.
Here's the thing. I am only picking Volk not because of his wrestling, but just the fact that we've seen him go 5 rounds and we've seen him kind of fight people at his own pace. Otherwise, to be honest, I mean, you have to say in the striking he loses, right? I mean, with Yair Rodriguez has huge power in his hands. The kicks are like torpedoes. I mean, he literally lifted Josh Emmett off the canvas with that couple of those left kicks.
Yeah, body kicks.
The Jeremy Stevens body kick, the head kicks, the Andre Feely, the head kick that knocked him back. Now, this is a hard fight because if my gut is telling me Volk should win, but there's no way he should be a minus 400 favorite just because, again, of those big kicks. And we've seen Volk drop with those kicks, right? We've seen him drop because Max Holloway dropped him with a head kick. We saw when he fought Islam.
Makhachev had a couple of
Yeah,
kicks.
exactly. The left high kicks. They weren't catching him per se, but um Volk was kind of leaning into them, which kind of a little dangerous, especially if you're fighting a guy like Yair who throws him with such speed and power, and he doesn't even care if his he could be hurt. Like for example, when he fought Max, his foot was broken. He still kept throwing it as hard as he can, and I don't know. And in terms of the wrestling, I mean, Yair Rodriguez does get taken down, but I don't think it's as bad as, let's say, for example, when he fought Frankie Edgar. I think that fight taught him a lot. I think after that fight, we've seen him with a lot better takedown defense, and we've seen him. We've seen him. If he is taken down, we've seen him have good guard, good ground and pound from the guard, good triangle attempts, arm bars. So I think even if Volk takes him down, which let's be honest, I don't really think he doesn't really attempt takedowns. If he didn't attempt a takedown against Korean Zombie even, right? He didn't attempt any takedowns against Chad Mendez, against Max Holloway. I could be wrong. Maybe there were a couple thrown in there just to change kind of levels, but
yeah, no, you're right. But he was killing them on the stand up.
yes, that's true. That is true for sure. But I don't think he's gonna. I think if he does take it down, I don't think it's going to be through a traditional takedown. I think it's going to be, let's say, from Yair Rodriguez throwing something crazy and maybe Volk catching him out of the air. Kind of, if you remember, how kind of Josh Emmett caught the flying knees of, for example, Yair Rodriguez. I think that's the only way they'll end up on the ground.
Another intangible Yair has is his ability to switch stances. Like we've seen. I shouldn't say holes in Volk's game, but we've seen how it wasn't easy for him to fight Makhachev in stand-up, right?
Yeah.
Which everybody thought is going to be easy, and Makhachev is gonna out wrestle him. But turned out it's the opposite, right? Where Makhachev was able to outstrike him, even if it's to a degree, right? And that was from the southpaw. So, and Yair has a insane ability to switch between different. He hits the same speed and force from southpaw as well as the orthodox position.
Right.
So that's something to watch out for. Definitely don't think it's a minus 400 plus 300,
No
but
way. No way. No
yeah,
way. Should not be at all. Volk could
yeah.
very easily get caught in this fight with a head kick or with a big body shot. And we know that Volk is very, let's say, persistent. We know he doesn't quit. We've seen that against Brian Ortega and against Islam. We've seen him against many, Chad Mendes hurt him, and we've seen him just push forward. But if a guy like Yair Rodriguez hits you with a big body shot or a head kick, you are in serious trouble. And I don't know how the odds makers have it minus 400 because they're saying that Yair Rodriguez has the same chance against Volk that Dricus has against Robert, which again, I think the only reason he's a minus 400 just because of what what Volk was kind of able to do against Islam. Like he went up weight class, he fought a guy who's taller, longer, heavier, and maybe they think that, oh well, you know, he's fighting someone now that's his size, he should definitely run through him. But I don't think it's the case, especially with Yair Rodriguez's unpredictability, flying knees, spinning elbows. We didn't even mention the spinning elbows. Uh, Volk
Um,
has
I,
definitely got to be on top of his game. Like he's
I
got to.
had to travel. Volk had to travel to Thailand to train, so that tells me he is taking Yair seriously and he is concerned.
Yeah, he also did
Definitely.
hire. They brought in some like a Taekwondo champion, like 11-time Taekwondo champion. So they're definitely taking him serious. They definitely. I'm sure he has a good camp. They definitely studied him and they definitely broke down the film. But he's still got to be on his A game. He can't play around with Yair for sure. I think he's got to contest this fight in in the clinch. I think he's got to contest it in the clinch. I think that's the only way he wins this fight.
Yeah, no, agree.
Yeah, there's no way he should be kickboxing with Yair.
And that does it for my predictions.
Yeah, same. Does it for my predictions. We have some other interesting matchups, but kind of kind of strange, right? With like the Bo Nickel, for example, last minute opponent, and Jack Della Maddalena, last minute opponent. Those are kind of like
I
the big, the big talking point of this week was those guys. But I mean, they brought in some random people on 5 days' notice. I think they should both win their fights. If you want to maybe just for fun bet on the underdog, you know, win some
yeah,
money. Maybe who knows? Anything's possible.
1 to 25. So yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I guess that does it for our picks. That does it for our UFC 290 predictions. Yeah, looking forward to this one. I think this is a pretty stacked card.
Right.